Welcome to the channel, Scott's Garage HTX. Don't forget the HTX. Today I'm going to check the SAG measurements on the KTM. But first I want to see the low speed, high speed compression on the shock as well as the rebound dampening. And I'm going to set it all as standard. I think you can set it comfort, standard, and sport. I'm going to set it up at standard, or at least check it. I don't know what it came from the dealership as. I never did check it, so now I'm going to check that. Let's get started on that, and then we'll go check the SAG. To set all these adjustments, turn all the knobs clockwise to a stop. That's your starting point. I've already done this to save a little bit of time, so all three of these knobs I've already set all the way to clockwise. To turn it to a low speed compression to standard, it's 15 clicks counterclockwise. The high speed, it is 1.5 turns clockwise, and the rebound down here is 15 clicks counterclockwise. So let's get busy with that. All right. 1, 2, 3, 14, 15. 1.5 times. 1.5. Down below, see if I can get this so it's better for you. Don't know, that didn't record on the other one, so you'll have to just trust me on the other one. That was 15, and you can see the knobs here. Sorry about that. Now, they've made this a little bit easier by putting a slot in it, and you can, because otherwise getting your fingers inside here is kind of a bitch. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 14, 15. All right, now we can check the static sag and then the riding sag. The whole purpose of this is to see if I need a new spring. These show up from the factory, I think, for a rider about 185, 187 pounds. I've said before, that's not me. I am going to check to see if I need to put a new spring in this. So that's what I'm really ultimately trying to do. For the sag, I actually have a SAG measuring stick. You don't need this. You can use a standard, measuring tape for sure. There is a little sign right here that says SAG right on the back of the fender in a little line. The idea is raise the bike up on a stand and measure your starting point. So put the pivot into the axle point and set this right at 0. Move this pivot point to where you're zeroing out the SAG measuring stick. Then lower the bike and measure the static sag. And that is right at 45. That's a little off. That seems odd. It should be around 35. Let me do that again. And I'm going to double check that measurement. I have the owner's manual on my computer. So, see, sag at 0, 35 millimeters should be the difference. Checking static sag. So, I need to adjust the spring preload of the shock absorber if it's off. Let me double check that. Because if that is that way, I'm going to have to take the shock off and adjust. Okay, I'm at 0, and I'm only looking for 35 millimeters of static sag. Yeah, and I've got close to 45. It's the next day and I can't get this static sag thing out of my head. And I think I'm going to do it for a third time. And I think what I've done is when I released the stand, I slammed the back end of the bike down to the ground, and it kind of compressed it a little bit. So I'm going to pick it up a little bit and place it down, and then measure the static sag. Give me a sec. There we go. Oh, now we can do this without tipping the bike over. And that's a little bit closer. That's 39 millimeters. And it should be 35. It should be about 35. That's kind of close enough, right? Now I need to get the rider sag on there. I'm not going to put all my gear on. I've weighed my boots and my helmet and some of my gear. It's going to be between 15, 20 pounds. We're going to stick with 20 pounds, and I'm just going to grab a couple dumbbells and put 15 pounds on it, and then have my wife help me steady, or when I sit on it, measure the sag for me. After looking at the riding sag, and we did do the measurement, but it's a little bit early in the morning. I didn't film it, and not everybody's ready for the day, so we didn't film that. I did put on about 15 pounds of weight to simulate my riding gear, and it came into about 120 millimeters of riding sag, which is kind of an issue. I think the owner's manual calls for about 105. I'm almost certain I'm going to have to put another stiffer spring on the back of this bike. I'm almost certain, which works out well. I've got an orthopedic surgeon appointment up in Conroe in about a couple hours, and the KTM place is up there, so I'm just going to drop in there and see if I can get another spring, or at least order me one. Problem is, I don't have the spring, nor do I have the wrench hook for it right now, so this is going to have to be put on the back burner, and we'll get to it at a different time. I do have some footage of me putting on the brake disc on the carbon fiber front tire and wheels for the V2, and I've got some action footage of me actually riding the V2, because I was trying to maybe do my take on the V2. It's a stock V2 except for a little bit of accessories, and I know there's a lot more experienced riders out there giving reviews of the V2. Give you a little background about myself. I've been on street bikes for 17 years with a big break in between when I got married and with the kids and everything, but I started out in the 90s on a Suzuki Bandit 400 as a good learner bike, and then jumped into the big fat Harleys. I found myself dragging the pegs a lot, so I went and got a Ducati 848, and that was a gem of a bike. I love that bike. So I do have some experience. My thought was this. Again, it's somewhat of a stock V2 except for a little bit of accessories, but I have some big things coming for this bike, like shocks, exhaust, and I'd like to compare the differences between the two, and we'll just film that along the way. Plus, I've got some track time coming up on it as well. That's why I got those carbon fiber wheels and slicks put on there, and hopefully we can get some footage of that as well. I have never been on a track, but this time I'm going to do it quite differently. I'm taking a class. I'm starting off at the novice level and getting instructors and learning how to be on the track safely. And again, it's track time. It's not race time, it's track time, and I'm going to learn how to do that. I'm excited about that, and hopefully we can capture some of that. We'll just roll to that.